Hi, good morning, everybody. My name's Chris Burns. I am the CEO of First Atlantic Commerce, and welcome today. We're just going to spend a little bit of time here allowing people to log in and join the session. So I can see the attendee list is growing very quickly. And today we are going to tackle why you don't need PayPal to accept online payments in Bermuda. And it is a very hot topic at the moment. We understand that. So, e-commerce has become incredibly important within our world today, especially sort of post-COVID world where, we were all forced to stay inside for a long time, couldn't go to shops, couldn't leave our houses, and really sort of understanding where we go from that as well. So I'm also joined today by my colleague, Tricia Lyons-Hill, who you can probably see on the screen as well.
Hi there. Yeah, my name is Tricia, and I'm the SVP of Business Development and Marketing here at First Atlantic Commerce. So you will hear a lot of me if you decide to work with us.
Excellent. Thanks, Trish. And so we're going to run through a presentation today, and also, so Trish and I are going to sort of go back and forth on the different topics that we're going to cover today in the specific agenda. So we are going to take time out for questions at the end. So there is a question section, chat box section within this. So please, as we're going along, please type in your questions. We do have a moderator that's going to share the questions at the end. So yeah, please don't be shy with the questions. We're here to help and to answer, and we'll try and cover as much as we can through this particular hour and leave time at the end. So Tricia, if you wouldn't mind the next slide, please.
Sure.
Okay, so this is really our agenda today. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we are, where we fit into the whole online payment space, all the different sort of tools and technology that you can take advantage of to grow your online business and take payments right here from Bermuda. We're going to obviously tackle the PayPal question as per the specific title. What is PayPal? Why can't we use it here? Why don't you need it here? And how to protect your business when you do launch it online from any potential sort of fraud or fraudsters. And then really all the different steps that you need to take to be able to get an online merchant account, work with First Atlantic Commerce if you choose to from a payment gateway perspective, and really help grow your business, not just in Bermuda, but internationally as well. So Trish, if we can move on to the next slide, please. So who are we as First Atlantic Commerce or FAC? Some of you will certainly know us. We are a Bermuda-based company. We're actually owned by Edmund Gibbons Limited, which is the same holding company that owns Gibbons and Colonial and Burroughs and a number of other Bermuda-based companies. So we are wholly a Bermuda company. We're a smaller subsidiary of a much larger group of companies. We're a software company at heart. We're based on the corner of Church and Burnaby Street, so you can come in and see us. And we have been in this e-commerce payment space since 1998. So we have a lot of history. We have a lot of experience. We are based here in Bermuda. We have a number of team members here. We also have a number of team members based in Canada. We have people in Miami. We have people in Central America, and we even have some people as far afield as South Africa. So we are a truly international company, but our headquarters is based here. And what we do bring, because of that, is an international experience, an overview of what's happening within the e-commerce space, what's happening within payments, and we can help guide you through that journey as you either start your online business, or you're looking to move from a brick and mortar only business to an online business, or you're simply just looking to upgrade what you have and your technology is something that you feel is not adapting to the way that the world is working today. We are Pci Certified. So basically, we like to tell people that up front because the Pci certification is really, it's the same as a financial audit, but for technical companies. So it's the most important thing we do every year. We go through a process for sort of 3 to 4 months whereby we have an external company come in and try and work through, sort of break our systems, look at our policies and procedures, and just make sure that we don't have any gaps within our security, to make sure that all your company's data and the credit card numbers that are processed through our system are completely safe. So Trish, we go on to the next slide there. So what is a payment gateway? And it's a great question. And before I joined FAC 17, 18 years ago, I had no idea what it was, or how it fit in, and why you need one, and what's involved in the overall technology. So we effectively are a software company, and we provide the technical interface between your website's payment page and then all the back-end bank and processor and Visa, MasterCard networks that are required to basically get what we call an authorization for an online transaction, and then capture the funds from that credit card and be able to send them to your e-commerce merchant account at whichever bank you work with. And so that is a very vast network. It's a very secure network. It's been built over many years, and it's a very fast network. And in the next slide, we're going to show you what that looks like from a high level perspective, so you can really see where all the different players fit in within an online e-commerce transaction. So Trish, we can bring up that process flow diagram. So here, this is really where we can explain where we fit in as a payment gateway, how this works specifically for Bermuda, and why you can get all the services you need to be able to do online payment processing within Bermuda. So we'll start with the actual sort of website itself. So there's many different ways you can create your website. You can develop it from scratch. You can use lots of different shopping carts, and we'll go through some of that a little bit later down the line. You can use a direct integration into our gateway via our API, we call it, and then we also have a hosted payment page option. So there are multiple methods in which you can access our payment gateway services. So when somebody goes to your website, whichever technology you're using, and has input all their credit card details and their name and address and billing address, and they press pay now, at that point, via a secure encrypted channel, the site is going to send all that encrypted payment data to our payment gateway, so our software platform. And all our software is hosted here in Bermuda, up at Link Bermuda. And then we have a connection on the back end of our gateway, a technical interface to what's called a processor. So in Bermuda, the three main e-commerce acquiring banks here are Butterfield, Clarion, and HSBC. And Butterfield and Clarion use a processor called First Data. Well, actually it's now called Pci because they were acquired. And we have a technical interface and a certification to Pci. And the job of Pci is to be able to take that data, and they have a security certification on the back end of their processing software that allows access to the credit card networks. So Visa, MasterCard, Amex, Discover, whichever card it is. And it will take the data that we sent them from your website and format it in a way that these card association networks, Visa, MasterCard, let's just use Visa as an example here. Visa will take that data and then route it to the bank that actually issued that credit card. So that gave your client that credit card, and it will check to see if they have available funds within their card. And if yes, it will put a hold on those funds and then send that approval all the way back through the network, through the processor to our gateway, and then we will send that response back to your website to say yes, proceed with the transaction, or no, decline, you don't have enough money on your card to be able to do this transaction. And then ultimately, there is what's called a settlement file that's created on the back end, and that settlement file is then sent by the processor to the acquirer, and it basically turns via the card networks, via Visa, MasterCard. So it tells the card networks who to send that money to, which bank to send that money to, and then ultimately which bank account those funds should be settled into. So this is, as I say, a hugely vast, complicated, secure network. And our job as a payment gateway is to ensure that we make it as simple as possible for you to interface or integrate your website to our payment gateway to be able to accept those transactions. And that is, this network is based, many of this is based all over the world, depending on where that person is coming from that is purchasing from your site. And these transactions happen ultimately in milliseconds. So the data could be traveling thousands and thousands of miles, but the response times and the that happen on these transactions are in milliseconds, which is really impressive. And you wouldn't know anything about this network unless you were really involved in the industry like we are, and it's constantly evolving. So there's better speed, there's better security. The card types pretty much stay the same. If you're an online merchant, probably 65% of your transactions are going to be Visa, about probably 25 to 30% are going to be MasterCard, and then the sort of Amex, Discover make up the rest. So if you're taking Visa, MasterCard, American Express, you're pretty much going to cover off all the different cards that people that are purchasing from your site are going to want to use. So from a gateway perspective, again, just to emphasize that our job is to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to accept credit card transactions online. And we work with multiple parties, including the banks, including software developers, different platform providers, which Tricia is going to go into in a little bit as well, to either allow you to purchase a plugin to integrate to us, or hire an experienced software developer to do it. And we will always say, our recommendation from a development perspective is always use somebody, from a software development perspective that is experienced in e-commerce, because we've all got those relatives or cousins or whoever it is that say they know something about computers, and they can help you with the software development. That will end up costing you a lot of time and probably more money, as somebody has to fix whatever's gone wrong in that environment. So and come to us. We will point you in the right direction of the people that we've got over 22 years of experience of working in this space. We know exactly who you should be talking to, whether that's in Bermuda, which is a big part of what we do. But just again, from a breadth perspective, we work in 32 different countries. We have clients in 32 different countries around the world. So we cover all of the Caribbean, all of Central America. We're connected in the US, we're connected in Canada. We provide some anti-fraud solutions within Europe, and also within Mexico as well. So, I don't want to oversell us, but in this region, there's probably not anybody else that's been around for as long as we have that can help you grow your online business. Okay, so next slide, please.
I think that's me. I think I'll take over now.
I'm going to go on mute.
So just to add to what Chris is saying, when you're talking about the integration and finding a developer, if you don't have one, we can certainly help with that. We've got a list of recommended developers that have worked with us for many years that we can recommend. So just don't be shy. You can ask us anything, and we can certainly be there to hold your hand and help you along the way. So this is just sort of a snapshot of some of our clients. Some of them are in Bermuda, some in other in Caribbean jurisdictions, and there's one here, PriceSmart, that's in both the Caribbean and Central America. Just want to give you sort of a little snapshot of the type of clients that we service. So our clients run from small sort of mom and pop shops to large multinational companies. We can help anybody. So again, don't be shy. You can always approach us, and we can walk you through the process of how to get started and how to work with us. So Chris was mentioning the shopping carts earlier. Again, this is just a snapshot of some of the shopping carts that are integrated to us. We have an exhaustive list, which if anybody's interested, I can certainly send to you. Now, some of these shopping carts, this is not just shopping carts, but it's also reservation systems, are integrated to us directly, and some are integrated to us via what we call plugin or extension. And those plugins have been created by third-party vendors, and they are our partners, and they've created them to sell to our customers who want a quick sort of integration and who are interested in using one of these particular shopping carts that are not otherwise integrated to us. So we see Woocommerce and Shopify, I would say, are probably the most popular out of these listed here, especially for the smaller merchants. Shopify, especially in the last couple of years, has really, every other merchant that's coming into us now are using Shopify. And Wix is actually a new extension that was just developed by one of our partners, and it's launching this month, I believe. So that's exciting for us because we haven't had Wix in the past, and we are definitely seeing a growing interest in our merchants and them wanting to use Wix. And again, we have more shopping carts than what you see here. And also, if you are working with another reservation system or another party, they can certainly integrate to us. We can share integration guides with you, and we can speak with the whoever it is that wants to integrate to us, and that's no problem. They can always do a custom integration. So I've just listed here some of the key products and services that FAC offers. I'm not going to go through all of them, but I just want to kind of go through some of them so you get a feel for what we can provide for you. So as Chris said, first of all, we're a PCI compliant gateway, and we have been since 2005. Back in those days, it wasn't mandated by the card brands. Today it is. Today, if you're not using a PCI compliant gateway, you really shouldn't be using them at all. And again, PCI is just it's a security standard that's the card associations have come up with. That's what PCI means, if you're wondering. But we are, as Chris said, audited every year, and we go through a huge process to be PCI compliant. So some of the things that we offer, virtual terminal. So this is, it's in the old days was used for mail order, telephone order. I don't know if there's really mail order so much today, but it's basically an interface where you can log on, you get a username and password, and you can, as a merchant, you can enter in card details. So the customer can call in their card details, and then you can enter it yourselves, and it'll be processed in real time. You can do it from anywhere as long as you have an internet connection, username and password. You can go ahead and enter it in. It's very simple. You can also initiate refunds or reversals using the same terminal or virtual terminal. Hosted payment page is very popular, especially with our smaller merchants. This means rather than connect via API, which Chris again was talking about earlier, you would use our hosted payment page and connect that way. It's a different implementation. It's not necessarily a simpler implementation, but it does allow you to connect so that when your cardholders go to make a payment, they're redirected to our infrastructure, and that means you don't have to handle or process any. You're not going to handle any card data. Now, this is important also for PCI because it reduces your scope and therefore will reduce your costs. Again, it can be modified so it has the look and feel of your website. So you can put your branding across it. So it's very sort of for the customer, they're not going to be surprised when they're taken off to another website. It'll look just like yours. Tokenization, that is a pretty hot topic right now, and something that a lot of our merchants are using. It sounds sort of fancy, and I guess in some way, some people find it a little bit intimidating, but really what it is, I know a lot of you probably are on Amazon. It offers you that one-click technology. So for example, if you go to your Amazon account, you don't have to enter in your credit card details all the time. That's exactly what it is. It's because what happens is you, the merchant, will send us card details. We'll send you back what we call a token, which is the unique identifier. And that way, when your customer comes back and initiates charges again and again, rather than send us the card data, you send us that token. And then you never again have to touch any of the card data. It reduces your PCI scope, and it minimizes any sort of other risks associated with handling card data. And you get that one-click technology and ease of use for both your customers and for you. And we're seeing a lot of our customers are wanting to use tokenization right now. Recurring payments, that is just, say you have a newspaper subscription or any type of service that requires billing on an annual basis or monthly or weekly, whatever your cyclical billing is, whatever your needs are. Basically, if you have a static amount, $50 a month, if you initiate it, then we will automatically bill your customers according to your schedule. So that would be good for any type of subscription type business, a gym membership, even something like that. And of course, we offer secure reporting and reconciliation. You can go into our portal and you can download reports, by card type, by date, whatever's relevant for your business. And they're all, you can save them as a PDF or as an Excel file. It's all at your fingertips. You can have many users. We can set you up, and you can all have unique usernames, passwords, and you can get in and just find out exactly what's happening and what all the transactions that have gone through the system. And again, I said I wasn't going to talk about all of these, but I do want to mention one more, and that's Figaro. Figaro is one of our partners, and they've been, we've been working with them for several years now, but they're a really good product for our sort of really small merchants that don't want to do a direct connection to us. So basically, they're an invoicing software billing platform, but also you can build a website using Figaro. They have different tiers, and they're integrated to us already. So if you work with Figaro, you don't need to contract with us or come to us. You'll automatically be using us to process your payment. But they're a really good vehicle for small businesses. And also, which is really cool, is that they offer payment buttons so that you can get paid via social media. So whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or WhatsApp, you can just send the payment button and then someone can click on it and put all their details in. So it's really cool. Figaro.com. I check it out if you are interested and you feel like everything else is too much for you. You just want to go start small. And we have a lot of merchants that might start with Figaro and then they move on to a direct integration with us as well. So that's really cool. And yeah, I mean, we support all the card types that are supported by the bank. So in Bermuda's case, that's Visa, MasterCard, and Amex. 3D Secure, unfortunately right now they're not supported by Bermuda banks on the acquiring side, but I do have that in there because we do have our 3D Secure. We have our own MPI for 3D Secure, and we do support it in with many banks in many other jurisdictions. And Count, actually, Chris is going to cover Count, I think, in a little bit, so I'll leave that for Chris. Yeah. And I think, yeah, that's Chris. I'll leave that one for you, too.
Okay, thanks, Trish. Thanks for that. Yeah, so PayPal, and this is a question that we get an awful lot within Bermuda or the Caribbean as a whole, actually. So people are saying, well, why can't I use PayPal in Bermuda? And forgetting that. So anybody that's not familiar with how PayPal works. So PayPal is what we call a payment facilitator or a master aggregator of funds. So PayPal is providing technology to accept or send funds, but they also provide the service to what they call underwrite the e-commerce merchant account. So in Bermuda, if you want to get an e-commerce merchant account, you have to apply with one of the banks, and Tricia's going to talk to you that a little later in the presentation. But with PayPal, it's a kind of a one-stop shop where you can get your technology, but also for your e-commerce merchant account. So when the transaction settles, it first settles with PayPal, and then they will put it in they will send it to you to your own specific account. That's if you're in the US or Europe, for example. So as part of the Visa and MasterCard rules for accepting online transactions, basically what has to happen is that the merchant and ultimately the bank that receives the funds or is what we call the acquirer, they have to ultimately be in the same country. So Butterfield Bank here, for example, is not able to give an e-commerce merchant account to a company that's incorporated in New York. It's against the rules. It's against what we call cross-border acquiring. So PayPal is not incorporated in Bermuda for e-commerce acquiring, nor is it in any of the Caribbean islands and a lot of Central America too. And the simple reason for that is that we are much smaller markets. PayPal is concentrated on the US and Canada and Mexico and Brazil and Europe and Asia, because there's just a lot more e-commerce transactions happening in those markets. So they have not spent the time, money, or energy to incorporate in Bermuda or in Jamaica or Bahamas or wherever that might be. So therefore, they are not allowed to accept e-commerce transactions on behalf of Bermuda-based merchants, e-commerce merchants. So you can, as an individual, set up a PayPal account. Like I have a PayPal account, so if I want to send money via PayPal, I can do that. But as an e-commerce merchant, you just simply can't sign. PayPal just does not allow you to sign up for those reasons. They're not here in Bermuda. They're unlikely to come to Bermuda. Just again, the market size is just too small for them. So there's no real economic incentive for them to be in Bermuda. And that is probably something that's not going to change anytime soon. But the purpose of today, is really to talk about the fact that Bermuda already has everything you would need to be able to accept payments online. So there are a lot of very talented software developers here. There's a lot of talented payment people here as well. So not just at FAC, but there are other options that have run through Bermuda before from a gateway perspective. We have 3 banks that are licensed to be e-commerce acquiring banks. And most of them have been, well, all 3 of them have been in the e-commerce acquiring space for at least 10 years. So they understand what's required there and how to help through the process. And then you have FAC that's here to help you connect the dots. So I understand when you're looking at this from the outside, it can seem complicated if you don't know where to start. And I guess we're here today, Tricia and I, to say that we can help you with that. If you have questions on where to start, what should I do first? Who can I help me to hire this? Which shopping cart should I use? What are the cost points involved with this? That's what we're here to do. And we have been doing that for a long time. It can certainly help you with that. So yes, PayPal is something that people are familiar with. What we are providing is an incredibly similar service, but even more, I guess, a more seamless service. So everything that we do is kind of in the background. So when you're paying with PayPal, on a merchant site, you're generally going to get redirected to another site, another page, which sometimes people are not comfortable with. They can abandon the transaction because they're not 100% sure that this is exactly where they should be going to enter their credit card data. Everything that we do as First Atlantic Commerce is, which you may not have heard of us in Bermuda, is because we're in the background. We're providing all the expertise and the technology and the security, but we are trying to create that experience for our clients' websites where we're invisible. And people are able to just run through the website, don't feel like they're being taken somewhere else, can trust the site fully. But as you can see from our customer list, and just in Bermuda, if you're paying your Digicel bill or your One bill, or you're ordering for Sargasso, or you're ordering online with Marketplace, it's our technology that is powering the payment side of that. So that's what we're here to help do. Can we see the next slide, Tricia? I think we probably covered, I covered probably a lot of that in the last monologue there, but yeah, we're very different beasts. So, ultimately, when it comes down to the difference between FAC and PayPal, FAC is a gateway. We will never hold your funds. We will never, sort of redirect people away from your website. And we are designed to be sort of, I guess, invisible in the background. PayPal is a very different experience where, if you choose to pay by PayPal or accept payments via PayPal, it is very much branded a PayPal experience within there. And PayPal will take your funds and hold them, and then, depending on whatever agreement you have with PayPal, they will then, send you your money. But again, that option doesn't exist in Bermuda.
Yeah.
So, be really careful when you're choosing what technology you want to use from an online perspective. What we always tell people is look at the payments piece first, because you might sign up for a fantastic looking website service, but when it comes to the payments piece, they might only have US payment gateways integrated to it, which means they can only send the money to US bank accounts. They may not connect to as we talked about before, the processors that are used here in Bermuda. And we've seen that a lot, where people have taken that, have unfortunately gone so far down a route, and then they go, okay, now I want to take, sort out the payments piece of it, and then realize that they are in a place where, you just can't send the money to Bermuda.
Yeah. If I could just add to that, Chris, that happens all the time. It happened to me yesterday. I was speaking with a merchant who was all set, and they were ready to move forward, but they didn't realize, because they hadn't looked at the payment side yet, they didn't realize that what they had chosen did not support the Bermuda rails or the Bermuda banks, and they have to start from scratch. And it's such a shame, because they're so excited, but then they're now months in again, they have to start all over again. So it does happen all the time. So it really is important advice to look at the payment side first, and make sure that whatever platform you're using is compatible with us and with the banks and everything, because we all do work together.
Yeah. Okay. And just lastly on this slide, don't get hung up on the fact that PayPal is not available here, and that you can't therefore do your online business. I can't stress enough. We have all the skills, experience, and technology and people in Bermuda to be able to enable that for you. All right, next slide, please. Okay, fraud. So we're going to talk about this for a little bit now. I'm not going to go into, I would usually do a whole hour presentation on fraud, and I'm happy to talk to people about this afterwards if they'd like to. But it can be a costly experience if you don't take this seriously. And if we just look at the next slide as well, please, Trish. So there's lots of different ways that people can perpetrate fraud, and if there's lots of different ways people can get your information. Usually with e-commerce, the fraud is usually, the information is usually not obtained online. It's usually, point of sale hacks. So if you look at all these big data breaches that happen in the US, it's usually something within the point of sale system, like the physical system, when you go into a store where somebody has hacked that or has put malware in that's accepting card numbers, or credit card skimmers within ATMs and things like that. But where those card numbers tend to be used once obtained is online. So there's lots of different things that you need to do to protect yourself from there. And there's it is all over the internet. So like you can go onto YouTube and they'll show you how to create a credit card number generator. They have Twitter accounts, they have Facebook accounts, they have Instagram accounts, and they're as fast as the authorities will take these down, they're back up again in some other format. And there are smart people that are trying to do this, and they don't have any rules to play by. So there's a lot that they can do there, but there is a lot that you can do to protect yourself from an online merchant perspective as well. So I tell you all that up front, because not to scare you from having an online business, but just to be forewarned and forearmed, to have that information, to know that there are things that you should do and can do to protect yourself from that as well. So when you look at online transactions, you should think about protecting yourself the same way that you protect yourself in a physical environment. So whether you're in a store, you're going to have maybe bars on your windows, locks on your doors, security cameras, tags on your clothes, a security guard, you've got somebody that's securely going to pick up your cash at the end of the day. So you have multiple tools that you're using to protect your physical store business, and you should do the same thing online as well. Now, there's lots of things you do around the security of your site in terms of, making sure that, that you're using an SSL certificate, that little padlock that you see up in the top left of the bar. You should be working with, as Trish mentioned before, Pci DSS certified payment gateway provider. You should be working with developers that have experience and can show you past previous work. You should be employing other anti-fraud technologies. 3D Secure is one of them. Unfortunately, it's not really available in Bermuda. The banks here don't support it yet. In terms from the acquiring side, that we hope they will employ at some point, because it is a good tool to help protect yourselves from chargebacks. And then, we have a specific tool that you can add into the service that's provided to us by a company called Count. So we can just go on to the next slide there, Trish. And so we, as a payment gateway, we were being asked a lot about, okay, well, what else can you do to help us with fraud? And so we thought about building our own anti-fraud system for about a second and realized how complicated it was. And then so we went out and we looked at all the best providers from an anti-fraud platform around the world. So if you know anything about this, there's companies called like CyberSource, Retail Decisions, 41st Parameter, and Count is also one of those. So Count is used by Spotify, Braintree, a number of airlines. It's the white labeled anti-fraud system for Chase Payment Tech, which is responsible for about 40% of global e-commerce transactions. So it's a very sophisticated tool that basically will take lots of different data points on a transaction, run it through their own algorithms, run it through their own AI, and basically give you a score on that transaction. Again, this is happening in milliseconds. And we'll say, okay, well, we think, the system thinks this is a good transaction, or the system thinks this is a bad transaction. And you can make a decision based upon that score, whether you want to accept the transaction or not. And, you really need to, figure out what what are you accepting transactions for online. If you have high value items, that are hundreds of dollars within there, absolutely want to use a system like this. If you're selling internationally, you absolutely want to use a system like this, because it's going to help you, ultimately sleep better at night, because you're going to be protecting yourselves from an online sales perspective. But the system is designed to not lock it down so tightly that you're going to be rejecting good transactions as well. And if we just switch into the next, conscious time here, switch into the next slide. This is again high level of all the things it's doing to help make a decision, like in 250 milliseconds, on whether or not you think it's a good transaction. And a lot of this is customizable. So there's thousands of different rules you can set within the system specific to your business. But it has things like a device fingerprinter, so it can tell you exactly what device that person is trying to do the transaction from, whether it's seen it before, if it's in the right time zone in terms of the billing address versus the shipping address. It has a proxy piercer, so if somebody is saying, I'm in, St. David's and they're really in Vietnam, it will be able to tell you, exactly if that person's using a proxy to mask where they actually are in the world. And then it will give you those decisions and help you make the right choices in a business-friendly way to be able to expand your online business. And again, we can give you a lot more detail on this. So usually on fraud we'll do a full hour just on fraud, but in the interest today, and we can see a lot of questions coming in as well. Let's move on, and where we are, corner of Church in Burnaby. Come see us. So Trish, I'll hand over to you here.
Sure. Okay, so well, now that you know who we are and what we do and what we offer, I want to kind of run you through a little bit on how to get started. If you want to, put your store up and start accepting online payments, this is how to get started. First and foremost, you really need to open an online merchant account. And as Chris mentioned already, we work with all three local banks, Butterfield, HSBC, and Clarion. This is the process that usually takes the most amount of time, so we really recommend that you start with establishing your merchant account. Now, a merchant account is different than a bank account. A lot of merchants come to us and they don't realize that at first. It's a specific type of bank account that allows your business to accept online payment. So it's really important that you apply for an e-commerce merchant account. Also, just to clarify, that is different than a point of sale. So often we also have merchants that come to us, they send us the numbers, we set them up, and there's, their failed transactions. That's because they've given us their point of sale merchant account details. Again, e-commerce is different, and you need to apply specifically for an e-commerce or online merchant account. So that would be the first thing, is to go to the bank. We can certainly help you. We can provide you with contacts at any of the banks who to talk to and help walk you through what you need to do with them. But they will give you a list of what they need. There'll be some specific documentation around KYC, of course, and due diligence. But they'll need to understand your business case. They'll want to see some financial statements if you have them, and they'll want to see your website terms and conditions and make sure that that's all in place. And again, I would recommend that if you can get all the information together at once and submit it, it'll come back faster. You'll get approved faster rather than have little pieces trickle in and out, because that's when it does tend to take longer. But once you get approved by the bank, or once you're in that process, you can come to us, and then we can start working on how you integrate your platform to ours. I'm just going to move on to my next slide here. You can start by, like Chris said, dropping by Thistle House. That's where we're located. It would be great if you called first, because we are often in meetings, so we can't always take drop-ins, but we're always happy to have a meeting with you. If you call, we can arrange something, or you can email us at bizdev@fac.bm, or you can go to our website. The homepage has a link that says Merchants Apply Now, and you just fill out a little form, and then we'll get back to you within a day or two to start the process. We'll give you a couple of forms that need to be filled out. One of them is basic information on your just on your business, your address, your contact information, just general information that we need to do business with you. And then the other form will be more specific to the solution that you will require. So a little bit more sort of like the key features that we talked about earlier. Like, are you going to be connecting to us via API or hosted payment page? Are you going to be using Count as extra fraud protection? Things like that we'll need to know when we set up your account, your test account. Once we get that information, we will send you a contract to execute. And then really we can introduce you to, once the commercials are all done, we can introduce you to our support team, who will then send you a test account. Now, I did put in here the average time, because we get that question every day. How much time does it take? And it really does depend, because you'll rarely be waiting on us. Once we send you the test account, it's up to your developers to do the testing. And when I mean testing, I mean sort of you're testing the code for the integration. So you need to test all the different types of transactions, declines, failed transactions, things like that. So it really depends on, like Chris was saying earlier, if you're having your cousin do it, or if you're having who has a little bit of sort of knowledge but doesn't really know, has never worked with a gateway before, or if you're having a developer that is used to this type of integration. So, we've seen it take up to 3 months, but it absolutely does not need to take that much time. 2 to 4 weeks is a really good estimate for that testing process. And again, if you're using one of the plugins, one of the shopping cart plugins, it'll go much faster, because that integration is already there. Okay, and so then once the testing on our testing environment is complete, well, first of all, just so you understand, the testing environment mimics our live environment. So whatever you do there, it doesn't go out to interchange or the card associations, but it'll be the same process that would happen on our live environment. Once that is all complete, and once we have the details from the bank, we can set up what we call your production account, and that's your live account credentials. We have to have the merchant ID from the bank in order to set that up. But once we do, we can send out the production account to you. You'll need to do a bit of testing on that account. And then our support team will always do what they call an end-to-end test, just to make sure the payment is ending up where it needs to. They'll ask for a low dollar ticket item and do their review, their website review, using that to test that transaction ends up in your merchant account at the bank. Then they'll sort of pass it back over to the business development team, and we will, just as a courtesy to the bank again, we will make sure that your website's in compliance with the card associations. So we test to make sure you've got a refund policy and a privacy policy, a delivery policy, an address, a contact number, things like that. That is not just sort of mandated by the card associations, but is actually, you're going to have much better stickiness. Your customers will come back to you and they'll stay with you if they see these things on your site, because they know that you're a bona fide, proper website. You don't want to go to a website and if you don't see any information or any policies or any addresses or contact information, you're not going to feel very good about putting your credit card information through there. So not only is it mandated by the card associations, it's good for business. So we review all that, and once that's done, you're cleared for live. We send you an email and we say you're cleared for live processing, and then we'll monitor the first few transactions that come through. And then you're all set. We do have some videos that we can provide to you as well, just to sort of short little videos, little sections about our merchant reporting. So that kind of, once you go live, you could, you'll sort of learn as you go along, but we can certainly provide you with these videos. And if you ever need any extra help, we can set up a 1-hour webinar with you to go through all of our reporting and how that works and how we can help you use it to your full advantage, so you get the benefits of what we have to offer. But that's it in a nutshell. It's on our side, it really is a fairly simple process. It's just a few documentation, the testing, and our support team is amazing. They will walk you through it. Any questions, they'll be there, and you have access to our support team through support@fac.bm. Any questions, I'll get right back to you. So it's really, it's fairly simple process. And I think that is our last slide. So, oops, sorry about that. Thank you. And I will go back to that. If you have any questions, now's the time.
Yeah, so I think our friends at BDC, we're going to moderate the questions.
Yes, so as you guys are kind of going through, you were answering quite a few. But I'll ask the first one. How long does it normally take for the funds to hit a business's account?
So it usually takes 2 or 3 days, and that is sort of Monday to Friday, so business days. So if you start, let's say on Sunday, the initial funds are going to hit your account, say Wednesday, and then every day, every business day after that, but they're going to be 3 days in arrears.
And that is also dependent on the bank, like,
yeah.
And I can't speak for which HSBC, Clarion, or Butterfield, but some might be 2, some might be 3, and sometimes you'll see it in a day. It depends on the timing and things like that.
Yeah.
So another question that we kept getting was more of a, how similar is this to Authorize.net? Are they completely separate or are they complementary? So I know that's.
Yeah. So yeah, and we get that question a lot too. So we are very similar. So Authorize.net is a payment gateway company, like Bermuda, like FAC is a payment gateway company. So Authorize.net is actually owned by Visa. So they're a large U.S. company. They are in Bermuda for sure. They're connected to definitely 2 of the banks here. And so yeah, you would either use Authorize.net or FAC. The major difference, the technology is very similar. I guess the major difference being is that we're a Bermuda company. So we're here. You can call us. It's not a sort of a 1-800 sort of black hole number. In terms of trying to get support from them. So it's a very different experience, I would say.
Okay, so another question is more to do with the monetary side. So do you work with a customer's individual budget, and then as well as how are you guys paid? Is that through transaction fees? Is it a subscription, etc.?
Sure. Tricia, you want to take that?
Sure. So we do have a fee structure. The fees are not they don't come out of the funds that are settled, like the bank fees do come out of the funds that they settle. We send you an invoice every month, but we have a very basic structure. It's a $99 setup fee, and we charge $20 a month and 10 cents per transaction. So a transaction is an off, after, a refund or reversal. We consider them all transactions, but it's literally 10 cents per transaction across the board.
Yeah, and just for comparison purposes, I think last time I looked at PayPal, even though it's not valid here, they charge 30 cents a transaction and a percentage, which is at least 3%, I believe. So the Bermuda solutions are very comparable and more competitive in many ways.
So another one was, what does PCI stand for, as well as what is 3D Secure and why aren't local banks supporting it?
Yeah, so PCI stands for Payment Card Industry. So it is a standard that we companies in the payment space have to adhere to. So it's kind of like an accounting standard on the financial side. It's a security standard and policies and procedures that we as a payment software company have to adhere to every year. So we get, let's say, our audit every January. Prep work is usually before that, and so we get certified as a PCI DSS level 1 payment gateway, and that's the level is based on the number of transactions and card numbers that you process it. So they're the ones that keep us honest and make sure that we're secure. So, we view our audits as, I know some people view audits as a painful thing. We view them as a good thing, because it makes sure that, we can sleep better at night as a payments business, knowing that, our security is up to the right level and we're not exposing any credit card data. 3D Secure is basically, it is a service to help basically validate that the cardholder is the actual cardholder, but it also helps protect you from chargebacks. So I'm just trying to think this is the easiest way to explain this. So when you get your credit card, some banks will enroll you in the 3D Secure program, which basically means that you will assign a password to that card that can be used online. And so if the website that you're going to, let's use British Airways as an example, because I know they have 3D Secure, not here in Bermuda, and if you go to a website where the merchant is enrolled in 3D Secure, when you put your card number in and press Pay Now, effectively another window is going to pop up and ask you to put your password in that's associated with that card. So it's kind of like assigning a PIN to your card to be able to use online. So when you go to an ATM, it's not just sticking your card in, you have to know your PIN number to be able to take out the cash. 3D Secure is similar in that regard. If both the card is enrolled and the merchant's enrolled, it will ask you for that password to validate the transaction. If you're not enrolled, as the card is not enrolled, but you and as the merchant are, it will attempt to validate that transaction to see if it's enrolled in 3D Secure, that card's enrolled. If it's not, it will still be logged as an attempt. And if you get a chargeback on that transaction, so somebody disputes that transaction, said it's fraud, I didn't do it, that chargeback will automatically get bounced back to the bank that issued that card, because the merchant tried to authenticate, the bank didn't participate. So it's like it's an incentive to make sure that more people, banks and merchants, enroll in the system. So in Bermuda, the banks here just are not enrolled on what we call the acquiring side, so the accepting of transaction side of 3D Secure. When they're ready to do it, we're absolutely ready to help them, because we're fully certified for 3D Secure. And we do that for other major banks like Scotiabank and RBC and CIBC in different parts of the world.
Yeah. So the why part of that question would really have to be for the banks, because we have offered. They're just not ready to take it on.
So another one is, if we have not yet made a website, is there anything we should keep in mind as we build to avoid integration issues down the road?
Yes, well, I would say, going back to the shopping carts, check out our list of shopping carts that are compatible right now. Either like Magento, for example, is integrated to us directly. Most of the rest are through plugins. But if there's not a plugin available today, these big shopping carts, especially out of the US and Europe, they're not going to integrate to us for one merchant. So if they have a list of payment gateways that they already work with. So you want to make sure that the shopping cart that you're using is integrated to us, or if we have a plugin for it. We have had lots of merchants that build on, shopping carts that were not compatible. So I think that would be the number one piece of advice, is check to make sure there's compatibility there with our platform.
Yeah, and the things like Figaro, if you're starting out, smaller merchant, Figaro is a great platform, and it's already comes pre-integrated to us. And it has e-invoicing solutions where you can send out an email with a payment link in it. They have payment buttons that you can drop into WhatsApp and different Facebook, Facebook Messenger, for example. So something like that is designed for startup businesses, and it's pre-integrated to DHL as well, so you can do shipping, international shipping too.
Someone also asked, you mentioned it can work for those without a website. So will this work for churches not registered as a charity?
So I think that was in relation to Figaro. That's for like online billing and invoicing. You don't have to have a website for that. You'd need to go to Figaro for that specifically. With us, you need to either have a website or an app, something to integrate to us.
Yeah, but Figaro, for example, with the church, if you wanted to send out a link to somebody to be able to donate to the church, the Figaro solution would be great for that.
Yeah.
Someone also asked, we have been dealing with a US-based POS system for many years. Do we have to totally change our system in order to accept online payments in Bermuda dollars, or can a plugin be used?
Yeah, that's a good question.
You can take that, Chris.
Yeah, there's multiple assets to it. So yeah, so the POS, this is the problem that we were talking about before, in terms of a lot of these US platforms are not designed to work with our banks technically, right? So they don't have the connectivity to work with them. So the POS system, if they have an online, so POSO, for those not familiar with that, that's point of sale. So that's a real physical brick and mortar type software that will run in a store and connect to a physical payment terminal that you swipe or tap or insert your card into. And sometimes those systems have an online counterpart to it. So if the store has an online offering too, then it can tie into its inventory management and all the accounting that comes with the software. So it really depends on the software, I guess, is the short answer. So we have, if they're not integrated to our gateway, we're certainly willing to work with them to do it. So that's how we've added all these other platforms over the years, where they've taken our API and coded their system into our gateway to be able to give access to settlement for payments in Bermuda. So it really depends. Some of the bigger POS software companies are not willing to do it. Again, it comes down to the market size in Bermuda. They don't value the investment, and I don't take any pleasure in saying that. It's just we've just come up against it so many times over the years, where if somebody wants to do something, they have a US platform, they want to take payments online, but they have to settle in Bermuda, and the companies, the POS company they've not been willing to do it. So again, we can show you what we do have available, and if you're working with a POS software company that is willing to work with us, then yeah, we'd be more than happy to have the conversation.
All right, I'm just cognizant of time, so I will answer these as well. Are there integrations with QuickBooks? And then also, can WhatsApp business accounts apply for you or through Figaro?
So we don't connect directly into QuickBooks. So we have reached out to them over the years. Intuit, I think, is the parent company, and told them where we're connected, because we have connectivity in a lot of these countries that they don't right now. And a single integration to us would give them access to 32 countries, for example, but we don't have QuickBooks right now. And WhatsApp, yes. So if you apply to Figaro, you can use the Figaro system to create payment buttons that you can drop into WhatsApp. And those payment buttons can be tied to a specific, like t-shirt, for example. You can create the SKUs within the system, create a payment button for a certain item, and then copy and paste that payment button into WhatsApp. And then that will go to the person. It will create the payment link. They can put in their credit card details. But the other aspect of that is you still do have to apply for an e-commerce merchant account with one of the banks. And again, I know people roll their eyes a little bit when it comes to the banking side of it, and I can understand that because sometimes the paperwork can seem onerous. But what I will say to that is there is a reason for it. It can be worked through well, and especially if you're dealing with the right person within the bank. So if you're unsure about that, come talk to us about that, because we can plug you into the right people, rather than wasting your time going to talk to a teller who will know nothing about e-commerce, for example.
So I think that's pretty much it. A lot of the other questions you guys either answered the answers for the questions or throughout the presentation. So
okay, great. Well, thank you so much. Actually, just so what about purchasing from Apple Store? No, we don't connect to Apple. Unfortunately, they're not a client of ours. So we can't help you with the Apple Store. But thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you.
Hope it was useful. And if there's any questions you have, you know where to find us.
Feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.